Want to know how you can subconsciously communicate interest to men through subtle physical touch? Want to know the non-sexual spots you can touch on them to make them feel comfortable and connected with you? I've got 8 spots you won't want to miss coming to you right now. Hey everybody, I'm dating and relationship coach Ryan Patrick, and welcome to beautiful Lisbon, Portugal, where I'm actually sitting in a park called the Jardim Guerra Junqueira. I believe it's Junqueira. Actually, I probably screwed up the last part of the name of the park because I don't speak Portuguese, but hey, I figured I'd give it a shot. Anyway, I'm here on my last few days with a group of remote workers, traveling with a company called Remote Year. I'm here with my wife Brittany as well, and there's 24 of us, and we've just been having the best time ever. Anyway, I'm really excited to get into today's content because we're talking about body language, we're talking about touching, we're talking about all the things that couldn't have been done during COVID. But before we get to that, for all of you that may have a lingering question, or maybe you have a hot date coming up with a guy, I want you to hit me up on my Wizio page at wizio.com/Ryan Patrick, and you'll be able to get a 4 to 7 minute video response back from me, personalized to you within either 7 days, or if it's an emergency, you can get it in as little as 2 days if it's really, really pressing. So make sure to check that out. So without further ado, let's jump into today's content. I actually need a little caffeine right now, so let's jump over to this outdoor cafe that I know of called the Banana Cafe, and let's talk. Okay, good, much better. Oh, and if you're new here and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I'd really appreciate that. Maybe drop a like, it really helps the algorithm get more people to the content, so hopefully I can bring value to other people's day as well. But anyway, let's talk about the places you can touch a man to connect with him on a very subconscious but very visceral level. And these are gonna be non-sexual ways, of course, but I just want you to take note of some of the ones you may have heard of, but also some of the ones that you may not have heard of, okay? So the first one I want to talk about is using your foot, and if you're sitting at a table with him, maybe you're getting coffee, or maybe you're grabbing a drink at a restaurant or bar, and you're sitting across from him, you can actually touch the side of your shoe or your foot, if you're wearing a sandal or something like that, against the side of his leg, where you're making contact with his calf. And what this is gonna do is just show him that you have a certain level of comfort with him at the table. Typically, this is gonna put a person, a man, at ease if they actually feel that if you touch them under the table, you're not pulling away immediately. And this is nothing that's too domineering or too forward in any way. You're just simply letting, your legs touch and just kind of keeping them there. Now the next one, it's a little bit more forward, okay? And some of you might not feel comfortable doing this, and that's totally okay. You need to understand your own comfort level, because after all, we're not talking about words right now, we're talking about, body movement, sensuality, actual physical touch. So things that might work for you may not work for your friends or people that you know. So just really check in with yourself to see if this one is gonna work for you. But I really suggest placing your hand on his knee. Now ideally, he's gonna have long pants on because it's even a little bit more forward if he's got shorts on and it's just bare hand to bare skin on his knee. But what this is gonna do, if you just kind of comfortably just put it there, if you're kind of like we're doing right now and just kind of talking quietly and closely to one another, you're just kind of putting your hand there and just saying, hey, I know that you're here, and I'm really enjoying the conversation, and I hope it's okay that I'm doing this, but I'm just gonna keep my hand right there. And while you're doing this, you're not really acknowledging it. You're not really, looking down, looking at him, looking down on what you're doing. You're kind of over here, you're very casual with it, and you're talking as if it's not really happening. Now the next one is very similar to the hand on the knee, but we're just coming up the body a little bit. So if you're sitting at a table with a man, all you have to do is take your fingers and drape them over his forearm. I think for a lot of you, you're gonna find that this one is a little bit more comfortable because his arms are probably already engaged in conversation. He's probably already, kind of talking with his hands, and maybe he takes a beat to put his hands thumbs down. And this is a moment where maybe you can respond to him. You can either ask him a question, but it's a way of getting his attention by just touching and either pulling it away or keeping it there, depending on your level of comfort with this particular man. So you always want to gauge his level of comfort with you as well. If his eyes immediately go down to you're touching his arm, you could just do the pull back. You're just touching and you're pulling back. But if he's not really acknowledging it and you find that he's slipping into a communication cadence with you, where maybe he's lowering his voice and he's kind of enjoying the scenery with you, then you should feel okay just kind of leaving your hand there. But again, you're judging his comfort level and you're also judging your own at any given moment. Now, the next one is great if you're walking with him somewhere, okay? Now, it's one thing to grab a man's hand to hold hands. I actually don't recommend that unless you want to show a man that you're ready for him to kiss you. It's what I call the hand-holding test. If he's willing to hold your hand, he's probably feeling comfortable enough to kiss you. And I'm speaking specifically about shy men that are kind of harder to read than other men that are sort of overt with their language and overt with their body language. But what you want to do when you're walking with a man, instead of holding his hand, because really we want the man to do that with you, what I suggest is just grabbing, or taking your hand rather, and just grabbing the inside of his elbow right here as you're walking along with him. And it's just, you're not grabbing it, you're just kind of putting your hand there, and it's just a comfortable place for you to kind of walk along. And he's just gonna feel this sense of intimacy, a sense of comfort with you while you're walking versus being in a stationary position, like sitting at a table. Now the next one, we're kind of ramping things up here. And I kind of put this in a chronological order based on, sort of your level of comfort with him, but also you'll notice that I'm starting at the lower part of the body and now we're working our way up, because as you notice, as we work our way up the body towards the head and the lips and the eyes, these are the most sensitive areas. If you really feel comfortable with the guy, and I've got the guy singing on the park bench over here, so hopefully you find that somewhat charming. I do. But anyway, as you move up, this is gonna be after, a few dates, right? We're kind of ramping up as we move up to the head. After 5 dates, you're gonna start doing some of these more advanced, unique subconscious techniques that I'm giving you. And the next one I'm gonna give you is placing the palm of your hand on his collarbone as you're talking to him. So again, you're letting him speak, and then you're leaning in and you're giving him your response, and you're smiling, and you're giving him that great eye contact, all as a unique package as you're delivering this one. And this one, you don't have to keep it there that long, just a few seconds, and then you bounce off. You take the hand off the collarbone. And something like the palm on the collarbone, it remains subtle as long as you're not personally drawing attention to it through your gaze. So if you put your hand on his collarbone and you're looking at it, it's gonna draw attention to him and pull it more from the subconscious sort of movement to a more conscious one, because he's gonna be hip to it. The next one is gonna be for ones that guys you really feel comfortable with. These are guys you've been dating for like at least a month. It might be a little awkward if you try to do it before then, but you guys have already sort of expressed yourself consistently over time. I don't know what he's saying. Awful. So the next one I want to suggest is pushing his hair behind his ear while you're directly in front of him. So you can see, like, you're not going to be pulling this out on the first few dates because it's going to be a little awkward, a little forward. So again, you want to throttle and sort of engage with what makes sense with this particular guy. If it feels off, it's going to feel off to him. So again, just take your fingers and just go like this. You don't have to do a couple passes. You can just do one, and he'll get the message subconsciously. This is very powerful stuff. Okay, so now that we talked about pushing his hair behind his ear, now we're gonna talk about one that you probably haven't heard of before, but I've had this happen to me by women that I've dated. My wife also has done it, and it's just so soothing and so sensual. And that is taking your thumb and dragging it across his eyebrow, okay? So you could even say something like, oh, you've got a little lint or something, and just really slowly go like that, as if you're kind of helping him smooth out his eyebrow, or there's like a little piece of something there that you're just adjusting for him. And it's just one of those moments, it's such a sensitive area where he'll probably like close his eyes as you do it, and he's literally gonna be melting inside. It's just one of those rich sort of sensations, anything around the eyes, the temples, the eyebrows. You're gonna pull this out if you want him to like slow down, if he's maybe not really listening to you. This is how you get him to kick it down a notch and just get him to center and focus in on his connection and his conversation with you. And of course, I'm saving the best one for last, because this is what I like to do, as most of you know that have been with me on my channel for however long you've been with me. In the last 2.5 years I've been on YouTube. But that is cradling his chin. You're literally taking your hands and just putting your hands on his chin. Now, not everyone's gonna be into this, but this one can be particularly powerful, especially if he said something that was like a little off, or if he's being fresh with you, and you just grab him by the chin and you just go like that. And it's just one of those nice little moments where you're able to touch him. And this is one of the ones, cradling the chin, that you're gonna pull out when you guys are getting darn close to exclusivity with each other, if you're not already exclusive together. So if you've got a boyfriend, if you've got an exclusive relationship with someone, if you've got a husband, this is just a great one to use. And you can just kind of shake his head a little bit. You can just maybe pull his chin up. Maybe you want to lean in for a kiss. This gets our attention, and it gets our attention in a good way, as long as it's followed by something that we find to be just really nurturing and comforting, which is you smiling at us, you giving us great eye contact along with that. Obviously, if you're going in for a kiss with the guy, but it's just one of those moments where you're just really grabbing his attention. I mean, you're just like basically pulling him to connect with you. And I think you'll find that his feedback with you on any of these, let alone this one that I'm mentioning right now, is gonna be received really well. So ladies, I really appreciate you joining me in this somewhat noisy park with the homeless guy that was singing Portuguese that I couldn't understand, or the planes passing overhead as I tried to drink this cup of coffee, which is delicious, by the way. But again, in the Jardim Guerra, Honqueira, I don't know. My Portuguese ladies are probably gonna set me straight on pronunciation, but it's a gorgeous place. We did a workout that I ran and led this morning here, and the weather couldn't be more perfect. It's in the 70s Fahrenheit, I'm not sure Celsius, that's what they use here in Europe. But anyway, I want you all to comment down below and let me know, what is your go-to non-sexual way to touch a man in order to get his attention? So we're looking for non-sexual ways. I really want to get a great conversation going in comments. So what is your go-to non-sexual way to touch a man? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you need to reach me personally for personal advice, hit me up on my Wizio page, wizio.com/Ryan Patrick. I'm here for you. If you need a response quickly in 2 days, or if you can take a little bit more time with me getting back to you, I can get your response within 7 days. It's just a really, really great way. It's been working out very, very well. So as always, I appreciate you stopping by. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd really, really appreciate it. Throw me a like down there. Again, it really helps with the algorithm, and it's just a great free way of supporting my channel. So until next week, I'll see you soon.